Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 4 of the A1 Autobody podcast. Today we have on Brandon Mccoy, better known by the name of Gooch Customs. He's a pinstriper and custom painter, and you can find him at Gooch_Customs. That's Gooch_Customs, GOOCH_Customs on Instagram. I hope you enjoy the show. He's a really interesting guy, really nice guy. And I really had a good time talking to him. All right, let's get this show on the road. Hey, how's it going, Gooch?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going great. How's everything going for you over there?
Busy. Always busy.
That's what I like to hear.
Yes, sir.
So for anybody who doesn't know, your name's Brandon Mccoy, but you're better known as Gooch or Gooch Customs on your as your Instagram handle?
Yeah, Gooch Customs, Gooch Freehand Pinstriping. Everybody calls me Gooch in the car show scene, so kind of what I'm known by.
And you are a pinstriper, you're a painter, you do all kinds of crazy stuff. Do you mind just giving us a little rundown of of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to, I get asked all the time what I do. It's hard to narrow it down because it varies from day to day. So I would say I'm an artist. I like to tell people I'm just an artist, and I'll go off from that. So I would say more of a pinstriper, custom painter, artist. Like I said, every day is a little different. I do all of it. So the only thing I really don't do is airbrush. I don't really do any freehand airbrush stuff. I'll run an airbrush doing shading and effects, but I don't do any freehand work. So other than that, I got it down.
I hadn't noticed that until you just said that, but no, I haven't. I don't think I've ever seen it, or I've seen any airbrush work on your site.
Yeah, you definitely have it, and I get mistakes for that all the time. I'll have people hit me up, hey man, I want some clowns airbrushed on my motorcycle, and it's like, man, when have you ever seen me ever post anything like that? That's where I'm a firm believer on airbrush work. That can't be taught. It's a natural gift you have, and if you have that natural gift, it can be taught advanced after that. But if you don't have that eye, I don't feel like that's something that can be taught.
I think a lot of people would probably say that about pinstriping.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I can teach anybody how to pinstripe. I could put a pinstripe brush in your hand, show you the basics, and if you practice enough, you would get it down to where you could pull lines. But whether or not you stand out from the crowd and you can make, I guess, a living doing it, that's where the art part comes in. That's where the vision comes in. I say it all the time, just because you put lines on a car doesn't make you a pinstriper. There's a whole other art side to it, for sure. So
how exactly did you discover pinstriping?
Well, I graduated high school in 2005, and I went to a paint and body school, and in that school they let you work on your own vehicle. Well, I always knew, I always had kind of an artistic background. I guess I was always painting stuff, kind of basic layouts and stencils and stuff. I kind of had a vision for it. So on the truck, instead of just painting it one color, I decided I want to do like double layer flames on it and all this crazy stuff. And when I did it, the flames needed a pinstripe around it to clean it all up. And at the body shop at the school I was at, they had this old crappy Mac brush. It was worn completely out.
One brush.
Just one, yeah, one brush, probably 20 years old, just a horrible brush. And I didn't even know that there was such thing as pinstriping paint. So I went to Walmart and bought the Tester's model paint in the little glass jars, And I pinstriped all these flames in silver with that Tester's model paint. And it took me like 12 hours to do it. And, I was super stoked about it. I thought it looked so cool. Go to lay the clear on, and the second I laid that clear on, it just ate away all that cheap model paint.
Oh.
But it was fun to me, I did it and it was fun. Yeah, it sucked that it ate it away, but it was fun to me. And honestly, man, I just have not stopped since that day. My next project I did, I was like, did graphics, so it needed a little pinstripe. So I just kept on doing it, and the more you do it, the better you get. And then you learn you got to use the right tools for the trade. And, after a while stuff starts clicking, and I just haven't stopped.
Now, you said you kind of had a little bit of an artistic background beforehand. What were you doing before you were pinstriping?
I mean, I've always been able to draw, like, not really good, but I could draw decent. And like, if you told me to draw, like, a toilet, I could draw a toilet loosely, or like cartoons and stuff, I could draw that. Or if you set something beside me, I could kind of, draw it. And I loosely understood like shading and, where highlights needed to be. I had that vision. And I don't know, you're just a typical kid, man. I was in high school, doodling in my notebooks. And, I used to skateboard all the time. And I kind of went through a phase where I was breaking these skateboards all the time, trying to do tricks and stuff. And, everybody wants a skateboard with cool graphics on the bottom. Well, those are like $60 a pop at the time. Well, I found out you could buy the blank skateboards, same board, just no graphic. They're like half the price. So in my mind, I was like, well, I'll buy a blank and I'll just paint. I'll paint the bottom of it however I want to look. So I started trying to duplicate these skateboards. I'd look at them in magazines and be like, I think I can paint that. I could figure it out. And I would tape it out, and use spray paint and do that kind of stuff. And I don't know, man. It's just, I get asked this question all the time. I really don't know where it all started. That's just about as far back as I can remember, is painting skateboards and just like bicycle frames and stuff like that when I was 14, 15 years old.
I think anybody who used to skateboard back in the day, because I used to do the exact same thing, buy the blanks. You find out the blanks are like $18-20, and then you can just transfer over all your parts, and
Yeah.
you have a skateboard. And then, like you said, they're blank on the bottom, so you figure might as well do something crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you don't want to be the kid running around with a blank board, and all your buddies have these pro skateboard, pro decks with the cool graphics. Even though you scrape them up when you're board sliding or grinding or whatever, but like, I don't know, it was just kind of fun. And then I did mine, and all my buddies started doing that, buying blanks and having me paint theirs, and that's kind of where I guess I learned the basics of like taping, like backmasking, and stuff like that. Even though I was using like super cheap stuff from the local hardware store, it still looks decent. It doesn't look bad. And like I said, after a while, you understand, you got to get the right tools for the trade. And, I learned about automotive paint and real tape. And, the more you do it, the better you get at it.
I would actually say that there's a big, at least in my own experience, there's a big benefit to using kind of that cheap stuff in the beginning.
Oh, sure, man. I mean, if you learn the hard way, once you figure out the right way, it's easy.
I mean, if you're taping with like blue masking tape that you buy at Home Depot,
Yeah.
and then you switch over to fine line. I mean,
yeah, with spray paint on top of that, you know what I mean? That stuff's built super heavy. So yeah, like once you get some good stuff in your hands, it's easy.
Right.
It's like learning how to pinstripe. Like when I learned how to pinstripe, people nowadays that are learning, they have access to like, social media and YouTube and all this stuff. Man, when I learned, I'm like right on the borderline of all that. Like I didn't even have a cell phone until I was in college. So I didn't have access to YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or could just ask all these, pinstripers questions. I had to learn the hard way because no one where I was from, no one around did it at all. I didn't know anybody that did it. So this is all trial and error. So the first time I got around other people that pinstriped and they're giving me all these tips and tricks and techniques and it all starts clicking, he's like, oh yeah, that makes way more sense than what I was doing. And like, why didn't I think of that, So
I think everybody has a little bit, no matter what your chosen profession, I think everybody runs into a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's the best way to learn, I feel like, man. That's the best way to learn.
Oh, absolutely. Then once you know the hard way doing it, once you switch over to the easy way, it's like all those hours you spent doing it the wrong way, really, it makes all the hard work that you do seem so much easier afterward.
Yeah, and it's like, when you're trying to do something, I'm a very prideful person. So like, I like to, whether it's pinstriping or painting, I like to do it myself. I like to learn myself. I don't want to pay someone else to do it. Not that I'm cheap. I just want to do it myself. I want to have the pride of, hey, I painted that. So when you do that, especially in painting, when you do that, you might fail. Say I'm trying an effect and it takes me 7 tries to nail it. And the seventh time I nail it. I don't consider that failure. I just find out, 6 other times that I just not to do it right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's half the fun of it, man. If you're frustrated wanting to throw your paint gun or your pinstripe through the wall and all of a sudden, bam, it clicks. makes it all worth it. In my opinion. Not everybody's like that, but that's in my opinion.
Well, I think most people who are good are like that because nobody, you know, everybody probably has a talent for something, but unless you really work and you go through those times of frustration, you go through those times of struggle, then you're never gonna really ever hit your maximum.
Right. And I preach all the time. I'm a firm believer that everybody in this world is good at something. You know, everybody's good at something, no matter what. You can't. You're not going to change my mind about that. Whether you find that skill at 14 or 35, once you find that skill, if you just put the time in and it gives you passion and you enjoy doing it, you need to focus all your time and energy on that and run with it, because you never know. Nowadays, especially with the way social media is nowadays, you can make money doing anything. And I'm a prime example of that. You know, I'm a prime example of that. And if you would have told me when I was in college or in high school that I'll be doing this for a living one day, I would have said you're crazy. There's just absolutely no way. But you know,
here we are.
Yeah, if you buckle down and put the work in, man, and are determined and just don't take no for an answer, you make it happen.
So you talked about when was the first time you actually went and met up with some other pinstripers and you got the opportunity to kind of work with them and learn what they had to say?
So I had probably pinstriped. See, I started pinstriping and the first time I ever picked up a brush was 2005, and you know, I just kind of dabbled, you know, over the years, just kind of by myself. Like I said, no one around me, not even any remotely close to me, pinstriped. So I would say I started posting stuff onto my Facebook probably around 2000. I don't know, 12, 13 is when I kind of started, you know, kind of posting a lot of stuff on my Facebook, like my artwork. It went from being like my personal account to kind of like my showing off my art. And one day I got a call from someone that ran. Here in Tulsa, there's this big car show here in Tulsa called the Daryl Starberg Car Show. It's like I don't know, here locally, it's a really big deal. It's a, you know, indoor event. It's like a three-day event. And every year they have a pinstripers circle in there. It's like a group of like 10 to 12 guys. They all show up, pinstripe, do panel jams, charity stuff like that. Well, I got a call from someone that seen some of my work on Facebook, and they invited me to it. And you know, I was obviously super stoked. I was unbelievably nervous because it's the first time I was ever going to be around anybody else that pinstriped. And so that was the first time, you know, I showed up. We pinstriped all weekend. I met a bunch of crazy dudes that were just like me, and learned a lot of cool tricks, a lot of tips. And man, a lot of those guys that I met that weekend, I'm still great friends with to this day. You know, so they kind of took me under their wing, and they could tell that I was really passionate about it. They could tell I was eager to learn, so they were helping me a lot. And I've went to that show every year since then. So it's actually coming up in about 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yep.
One of the interesting things I've found about the pinstriping community is it seems like it's one of the few places where you can still find people where like the absolute top level guys are still hanging out in groups of beginners, kind of talking with them and helping them. And at least on like Facebook, Instagram, the people I've seen on there, people who have been doing it for 60 years, talking to people who are just picking up the brush for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, it's a little bit of both. For the most part, everybody's super cool. They're all, you know, there to help. But then, I mean, you will run into every now and then. You run into the old timer that, you know, they don't want to give any of their tips or their secrets or advice. They're just, I mean, everybody's just different. You know, just because you have something in common, you know, pinstriping doesn't necessarily mean you view, I guess, the world the same, if that makes any sense. You know, so everybody's different.
Right.
Some people are more closed than others. Me, I'm an open book. I've always been an open book because I learned the hard way. You know, I was super eager to learn and just didn't know how. I don't ever want anybody to go through that. If someone's like eager to learn something that I'm interested in too, I'm all about helping them. So like, and anybody that like knows me, you know, knows that, you know, they can come up to any time, whether I'm at a car show, anywhere. If they have a question, I'm all about helping. So
That actually brings up something I wanted to talk about. I saw on your Instagram you were invited to teach a class
yeah,
on custom painting.
yeah.
What was that? What was that like for you?
That was really neat, man. Because I really, really, really enjoy helping others and teaching. It's really fun to me. So, and especially, if you do a class like that, you're instantly around 20 people that I feel like you have something in common with, because they're wanting to learn your trade, and they're interested in it. So, like, you know, that's cool. Those are cool people to be around, in my opinion. So, yeah, the Arkansas Tech contacted me, and uh, they brought me in for a day over at their like vocational school, and we just pretty much spent a day, like about half the day we did like pinstriping, the other half I did like basic tape outs, stuff like that, painting, lowrider type stuff.
Did they come to you with a structure or like kind of a curriculum or any kind of criteria that they wanted you to impart, or is it just kind of your own thing that you came up with as you were going?
I mean, they worked with me really good. It was kind of a little bit of both. The guy that ran the class, I didn't know it at the time, but I guess I had met him at a car show previously, and I talked to him, previously at a car show. So he kind of knew me. I didn't really know him, but he knew me. So, he was really easy to work with. We kind of just bounced ideas. Like, yeah, I told him, knock some panels out that we can pinstripe on, and I'll bring everything I have, and we can kind of just wing it. If you guys want to more focus on the pinstriping, we can do that. If you want to focus more on the custom painting part, we can do that. And it ended up being, if I were to do the class again, I would probably do it more of like 25% pinstriping, 75% the painting, because pinstriping is very frustrating to learn. I mean, it literally takes like years to even get the hang of it. So it was really hard for these, learning the basics in a couple hours. People were getting frustrated. They kind of lost. Some of them lost interest, and some of them were there just to learn the painting part. So the painting part, it's really, you can do a tape out, and it's really, I don't want to say more interesting, but it's a little bit more interesting. Taping stuff out, painting. It's more quick result than the pinstriping part.
Yeah, I think you could probably teach something like taping out where it's a lot more concepts and stuff, as opposed to pinstriping where there's a lot more kind of technical aspect and just hand control and things like that.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Like when we were doing the pinstriping, there was, out of the 20, there was two people, pretty much 2 out of the 20, that I pulled aside when we were done. I'm like, hey, you two, you need to keep doing this, because I can just tell you have potential to be good at this. The rest of them, well, I'm not saying that they don't, but that day, the rest of them were just, you could tell they really weren't. They kind of lost interest real quick. But there's 2 guys there that were, I could just tell, like they kind of had a good vision. They understood, like they were listening to me about, design work, and you could just tell they kind of had it.
With the artistry side of stuff, like you and me were talking a little bit before we started recording about how you're very good at doing both. You're good at the paint work and you're good at the pinstriping. And also, I'd like to add that you're also a very good just artist in general. You seem to have a really good concept of like less is more. Just kind of you very good balance. You have excellent color choices. Do you want to just talk a little bit about how you maybe picked up some of those things over time and how that has evolved a little bit for you?
Yeah. So, okay, I've always preached this. Like I said earlier, just because you put lines on a car, in my opinion, does not make you a pinstriper. You can teach anybody to do that. Now, what makes a good pinstriper stand apart from the rest is the artistic vision that comes in. So most people don't understand what good pinstriping is. You'd be amazed on what people are happy with. I mean, there's a lot of horrible pinstriping out there on vehicles that people are just, it's like they don't know what they're looking at. They just think a human put that on a car and it's lines and it's just amazing. I can't believe his hands that steady, blah, 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 blah. When I look at it, I'm just like horrified. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at I'm an artist. So I'm looking at the negative spacing. I'm looking at the line quality. I'm looking at the color choices. I'm looking at where they pinstriped it because I'm an artist. And that's what, in my opinion, that's what sets apart a really good pinstriper or custom painter from a lot of the people, a lot of, just the average Joes, I want to say. Not talking bad on them. I mean, if you can make a living doing it, by all means, do it. But I take a lot of pride in what I do. So therefore, I pay attention to the details. Like when I stripe something, man, I want it to be, I know it's never, ever going to be perfect, but I want it to be absolutely as close to perfect as you could ever get.
That's an excellent way to go into anything, especially if you're trying to make it your profession.
Yes, exactly.
I think a lot of people, when they pay for something, they give themselves a more rosy view of what they're getting.
Yeah, it's man, it's weird. It's I run into it all the time. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there striping. I'll get it all the time. I'm never gonna like bash another striper or anything. But I'll have someone come up to me, say I'm at a car show at my booth, and they're talking about, oh man, I ran into this other striper at this show. They'll mention his name, and they'll be like, man, he's just phenomenal. In my mind, I know who they're talking about, and I'm just like, not so much. I mean, so like whenever I'm striping someone's stuff, I like to inform them. I like to teach them. I'm like, all right, what I'm doing right here, like, pay attention to this. This is the stuff you need to look at the next time you're looking at a design. And when they walk away and leave, they're a little more informed of what to look for in good work. It's kind of like painting a car. Until you go to like paint and body school or around really high end paint jobs, you don't understand what good paint looks like until you've been around it. When I first started, I remember looking at cars, just painting. I remember looking at cars and be like, man, that's just an amazing paint job. Well, once I learned the process of painting, I go back and look at it. I'm like, wow, that's horrible paint job. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to talk down on people's work, but I'm just very, very, very picky in the details. And
no, I get the same thing. When we, like, if I see a paint job, if I know that a car has been painted, I'm automatically checking like the mirrors. Did they tape them off or did they take them off?
Exactly.
Did they?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I'm exactly the same way. Oh,
did they jam it right? Are there any hard lines in the jam? Like stuff like that. The stuff you can relate to in the paint field. I do the same thing with pinstriping. I can always tell if a pinstriper just ran through a design to make some quick money. I can always tell because there's super basic designs that I can just tell if a pinstriper just blew through it to make a quick $100. You're not going to fool me because I do it every day for a living. So like every design that I do, I try to make it the best design I've ever done. You know what I'm saying? Because I still have pride in it.
Do you prefer painting or do you prefer pinstriping?
Man, it depends on the day. Some days some days I'll wake up and I'll just throw my headphones in. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pinstripe all day. And I'll literally just stripe all day long. And then other days I don't feel like striping. I feel like maybe, I'll paint. And if I have a cool project coming up, it's like, all right, man, I need to get this motorcycle tank and flake and get it cleared. So in a couple days I can start doing the graphics on it. It's all different. Every day is a little bit different. That's a hard one, man. I really don't know. Here lately, I'll say I've been more excited about, I guess, the painting side of it. I've been doing a lot of lowrider stuff here lately, and it's just so much fun to me. I just can't get enough of it.
One thing I would think with the painting over the pinstriping would be the amount of time it takes because you have to include dry times.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like it probably gives you a much better opportunity to really plan out something.
Well, okay, the pinstriping is really quick. It's quick. It's very fast results. I can do a pinstripe design in 30 minutes, and it's done. Now, the painting, it's kind of like built up. You're like, man, this is gonna look so cool when it's done, but it might take you 3 days, to paint a roof or a hood or something. So it's built up after 3 days. You can't wait to see what the results are like. So it's exciting. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. Today I'm gonna back mask this area and do this effect. Man, I can't wait to that paint to flash off so I can unpeel. It's like Christmas, like
Right.
opening presents. You know what I mean? So the result at the end of that, I feel like, is more satisfying than the pinstriping is. That to me is what's fun about it. And I never go in with a I honestly never go in with a set plan. I wing everything. So I mean, I always have an idea loosely of the direction I want to go, but it all just completely comes to me as I go, as I'm taping.
You told me
Just,
that the other day, and that's like probably one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
I
Especially
just can't explain it. It's weird.
given the nature of the projects you do, I mean, the amount of paint that you have to lay out and you have to plan out beforehand, it seems like it would be almost impossible to just wing, you know?
I don't know. And some guys aren't like that. I get asked all the time, "Hey man, can you do me a drawing or a rendering of what it's going to look like?" And I'll be honest with you, I can't do it. Same with pinstriping. Every pinstripe design I've ever done has been completely winged. I can't draw pinstriping. It's weird. It's a completely different technique. So I have to like convince my customers, dude, just trust me. I promise you, just trust me. Just let me do my thing. Just let me throw my headphones in and just leave me alone. And I promise you, it'll look good. And at first, when I was doing, okay, take lowrider paint for example. There's a way to do lowrider paint. There's a process to it. You know, the first couple things I was messing around with, a couple skateboards or something, they didn't look that good because I was learning. But once you learn what shapes look good next to each other and what designs look good next to each other, or what backgrounds with certain colors shot on top of it look good together, that's when stuff starts happening. And just like everything else, the more you do it, the better you get, you know?
And you have no formal training in.
I'm 1000% self-taught.
Now, do you have any books or anything you would recommend for people to pick up, or
I mean,
is it literally just like practice and
to me, it's practice. I mean, I grew up looking at like Trucking Magazine and Mini Trucking and stuff like that. I'm a lowrider truck guy. So like I would look at these paint jobs in these magazines, even back in high school. I could look at them, these super elaborate paint jobs, and I could break it down in my head. It's like, okay, he taped off that area, he backmasked there, he shadowed there, and then he covered up that spot, hit that. I understood how they did it. I just didn't understand the materials they used, the actual application of it. So once I went to paint and body school and learned how to physically paint, it all just kind of happened naturally to me. I mean, nowadays with Instagram and social media, dude, I'll just get on Instagram and start flipping through other artists' work and be like, man, that's pretty cool. I like how he did that. I'm not going to copy that, but I'm going to maybe like loosely, introduce that into maybe some of my work in the future. And after a while, you build your own style and people start noticing that. And that's what's desirable to people. They want their stuff to be different. So like, you don't want your paintwork or your pinstriping to look like everybody else's. You got to go against the grain a little bit. And so a lot of guys are scared to do that. I'm not scared at all. I don't care. I paint stuff that looks cool to me. So like, if you don't think it looks cool, then I'm probably not your artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're coming to me for a reason. You've obviously like probably creeped my page and like looked at my work. And if you like what you see, then let's paint something.
Trust me.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the breakdown of like commissions versus work that you're doing for yourself and maybe selling afterward? Do you do a lot more at this point commissions than you do kind of like not experimental, but kind of like your own thing that maybe you end up selling after?
It completely and totally depends on the time of the year. Right now, see, I do a lot of car shows. Car shows to me start in February and they pretty much end in the end of October. So from February to October, I would say at least 2 or 3 times or 2 or 3 weekends a month, I'm at a car show somewhere. So where I'm a lot different than a lot of stripers, your typical pinstriper goes and he sets up a little canopy and, pulls cars in. My setup is not like that. I'll do that, but I also have a ton of artwork for people to buy when I'm there. You know what I mean? So like, if you're a customer, you walk up to my booth, I mean, there's probably going to be 50 pieces of artwork that you could either purchase that day, or you can just look at to get a feel like, okay, I wonder, does this guy know what he's doing? Well, look at my art. Do you like what you see on my artwork? Because I can put that in your car if you want. So to me, I found that people are more comfortable if they can visually see it, and they're comfortable knowing that if I produce that art, they're okay with they're okay with them handing the car over to me. So I do a lot of the artwork. Like right now, I'm prepping for car show season, so I'm doing a lot of not commission stuff. I'm doing a lot of inventory, what I call. Now, once car show season ends and winter hits, that's when the Christmas orders start coming in. So it's all commission work because everybody wants, special gifts for Christmas. So I'll get a lot of commission work from November all the way through December and throughout the year as well, but not nearly as much as Christmas time. Man, Christmas time is insane for me.
I saw you did a lot of really awesome coffee mugs.
Yeah, man, I have
travel mugs.
Yeah, the little tumblers, like little Ozark Yeti tumbler things. I've probably painted over 1,000 of those since I've been doing them. And I mean, to me, it's that's like the coolest gift ever, because that's something you can't go buy off a shelf. It's personalized to them. You pretty much contact me, I can make, whatever, as long as there's no freehand airbrush work, I can do it. So if you want your name on it or logo or whatever, I can do that.
You do lettering too, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't really consider myself. That's more of like a sign painter's work. I can do lettering. I don't particularly like it, I guess.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. It doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, it's better to be honest than to tell people that you can do it. And then
I mean, I can do it, but it's not like lighting a fire under my ass when I do it. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, it's not like it's something you're real passionate about.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are some other artists that you really admire? Who are some other artists that you kind of look to or try to incorporate into your own?
Man, put me on the spot right here. There's so many of them.
I know. Literally the only person that listens to this is my mom. So, hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom. So, my all-time favorite pinstriper is by far a guy named Anthony Monaco. He goes by Spaz, is what he signs his name at. On his Instagram, if anybody's listening, if you want to check him out, his Instagram handle is "My dog has a beard all over." So anytime I'm feeling like okay, Brandon, you're the shit. You're doing something. I'll go to his page and it will put me right back to square one. It's like, okay, step back a notch. This cat's good. He's unbelievably good. I own several pieces of his artwork and it's phenomenal. He's my favorite pinstriper for sure. Now, painter out there, even though he's like one of my really, really, really good friends, I don't want to sound biased, but I'd say Joe Vincent's probably my favorite painter.
That's in second place after Dwayne Sands from A1 Autobody, right?
All right, yeah, exactly, yeah. I can't leave you out of there. Nah, Joe, he's a good friend of mine. I've looked up to him for a long time. He's a phenomenal artist. He can do it all. He's like I am, except he can do the freehand airbrush work, and he's absolutely amazing. He's a great guy. Glad to call him a friend. But that's probably my favorite, I guess, painter out there, like painter.
And I've never personally seen his work, but I will say those airbrush guys are definitely something else.
It blows my mind. I can't wrap my mind around it. I'm a firm believer. Like, everybody's always telling me, like, oh, you just need to start practicing. You need to start practicing. That, to me, if you don't have that natural gift, it's something that can't be taught. Like, I don't have it. I'll be the first to admit I don't have it. You got to have the natural eye for where to shadow, where to highlight, that kind of stuff. And if you have that, then yes, you can be taught and built from that. But if you don't just naturally have that, I don't feel like it's kind of like being born like not athletic. You know what I mean? Like a good athlete that's going to do something in life with athletics, he's going to be naturally athletic.
Right. You're going to know by middle school.
Right. Then you can coach him and build off of that and like fine tune his craft. But if he's clumsy and can't run without falling down, he's probably never going to be a good football player. You know what I mean? Like,
Hopefully he's good at math.
I'm just a firm believer in that. People have false hope a lot of the times, and sometimes you got to be real with yourself, you know?
Yeah, I think probably self-awareness is very important.
Yeah.
Especially,
and we're living in a day now where, you know, everybody's getting, you know, you might run a race and get 7th place, but you're still getting a medal. That's not the way. I don't feel like it should be. That's not the way I was raised. So I'm real with myself. No airbrushing for this guy. I'll do some drop shadows and stuff like that, but I'm not airbrushing no skulls with snakes coming through their eyes or anything like that. If I do, you're not going to want to buy it. I promise you that.
Even though airbrushing is not your thing, I noticed a lot of the work you do is so actually I'll just talk about the first piece I ever saw that you had done. It was this 4-panel piece, and it kind of looked like the pinstriping was flowing between the 4 different panels at different in different locations, and it all kind of looked like one piece that had split into 4. But what I thought was really cool about it was the background was, it looked like maybe oil painting or some type of textured painting that had been done first.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, and then you also, if I'm not mistaken, you framed it as well. All very, very nicely. I think it had a wood frame on it. That might not be right.
The piece you're talking about, that's literally the only piece that I've ever painted that I've kept. I actually painted that for myself because I had the idea. I painted it for myself. It wasn't framed. I just used a lot of the canvas painting I do, you know, I'll just go buy like some cheaper canvas, paint it, whatever. People aren't buying they're buying the artwork on it. They're not buying the canvas. Well, I used a more high-end canvas. It's thicker. It's just built a little bit better. It's more desirable, I guess. I don't know. I just painted that. I had the idea one day, and I was like, that would look really good above my couch. And the picture that you've seen, a lot of people don't understand how big that thing is. It's like probably 6 feet wide total. It's huge.
Oh, see, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand. Like when I made that, I posted it. I'm like, man, this thing's going to take off. Everybody's going to go crazy. It really didn't get a whole lot of views at all. You know, because I don't think people understand how big that thing is. It's humongous.
I actually think it's probably one of the coolest pieces of art I've ever seen, to be honest with you.
And it's funny because you're talking about the splatter style background. Everybody always asks me about that because I started doing those. The 4-piece that you've seen, that's the only one of those I've ever done. Now everybody knows me by my 3 pieces I do. So I'll do like a 20 by 20 inch centerpiece, and then I'll put 2 end pieces on it that are like 16 by 18. It's like a 3-piece. I'll do like a nice pinstripe design, and I'll bring it out. And when I'll bring it out, and it'll have the gaps in it where the canvas, you know, I don't butt the canvas together. I gap it out, and it takes off on the end pieces. Well, I did this. I started doing the splatter stuff, and everybody asked me where I came up with that idea. And it's kind of a funny story because I was watching. I don't know if you ever watched Dexter on Netflix.
Yep.
You know,
one
Dexter?
of my favorite TV shows ever.
Yeah. So like one day I was watching Dexter, and if you notice in his little office or his lab, he's got the blood splatter stuff on his wall. Have you noticed that he's got some of them framed?
Yep.
And I was like looking at those, and I was like, man, that's a pretty cool looking background. Let's have some like splatter. So like I get the idea, you know. I immediately went to Hobby Lobby and got some canvas, and man, I just painted it like all black and just splattered it in red. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Striped it, and immediately someone wanted to buy it. So for the longest,
you were like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that was awesome. Hell yeah. So I for the longest time I did it's kind of hard to explain over here, but I would take the 20 by 20, I painted it black. And then the ones on the end I would paint white. And then I would stripe it in white, black, and red. Now the one in the middle, you know, the middle piece, the 20 by 20, it was black. So like all the white striping I did, where it went to the edge and took off on the white one, I would switch the colors to black. So it was like opposite. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I did that, and I did the red, black, and white one for the longest time. I called it my traditional 3-piece because it's like traditional colors. Well, then someone hit me up for a commission piece, like, hey, man, you know, I want one that's like blues. So at the time, I was like, man, that's not going to look very good. You know, blues, that's not going to look cool. You got to have a hot rod look. So I did the blue one, and it actually turned out pretty cool. I used all blues, and then someone hit me up, hey, man, I want a green one. Hey, I want a purple one. Can you do like a purple and teal one? So it took off like wildfire. So like if someone wanted a purple and teal one, I would paint it purple and then splatter it in like teal and an off purple and just I don't know. It kind of took off like wildfire. And man, if I go to a car show, I always have 2 or 3 of those pieces. They'll sell every single time.
I think it's a really nice contrast with the like kind of the chaotic nature of the splattering in the background, and then the the like, you know what I mean, the very uniform look of the pinstriping on top of that. I think that looks cool.
Yeah, you got the messiness of the splatter, and then you got the super crisp detail of the pinstripe. So it's like, you know, hot meets cold, like opposites attract kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So like people like that. And then when they find out that I can do any colors or maybe put their name on it, like I've done a ton of those for like weddings or someone like I'll put their last name on it and stuff. I actually got an order yesterday for one for Valentine's Day, and I've done a ton of those, man.
So just want to shift gears a little bit. No pun intended. What came first? Your love of art, your love of cars? Did one kind of lead to the other one? Were they happening at the same time?
That's a tough one. I would say probably the art first, I guess, because I was always pretty good at drawing when I was a kid. So like when I was, 3rd, 4th grade, I mean, I guess I liked cars, but I couldn't drive a car. So therefore I didn't really like want a car at the time, but I could always draw. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would say the art part first. The car stuff really didn't happen until mid high school. Like I guess when I started getting cars, you know what I mean? Once that happened, I used to be real big into like stereo stuff. I had like a crappy car, but man, it had a loud stereo in it. You know what I mean? So like the next car I got, was a little nicer, but it had a loud stereo in it. And then it all changed when I went to that Autobody school and found out that we were going to be able to paint our own stuff. Man, that teacher thought I was crazy the first week I was there because I had a 96 Chevy at the time, extended cab. And I told him, I was like, man, I want to paint it like lime green, and I want black flames with the overlapping flames on the hood. I want to take my interior out, paint my interior, this and that. And this was like the first day of class. And he was listening to me, but I think he thought I was kind of crazy at the time. Like, this kid's never going to do it. Well, the next day, like, I went home after class that night, and I, like, gutted my interior, took my dash out, took every piece of plastic out, and I showed up to class the next day, and I was like, okay, I want to smooth all this plastic and paint it. How do I do it? And when he seen me do that, I think he realized that, like, I was serious. So he kind of like took me under his wing because he knew I was there to learn. He knew there was about 2 or 3 of us out of the 20 that were actually there to like learn and do something with it. And he kind of figured out that day, I feel like, that I was serious. So by the time school was done, man, I had a lime green truck with black flames with a lime green interior and a loud sound system in it. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. And none of my family is like into cars at all. I'm the only one. It's weird. I don't know where it came from. I have not a clue.
It sounds like you were pretty lucky to have someone at the school who could actually do all that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we're really good friends to this day. And he was letting me, because most kids in there, they were just painting their car red or white. Well, I was in there, when you paint double layer flames, I mean, that's involved. So I was up in the paint booth for like hours. So he would like let me, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but he'd like let me sneak in at night to go to the paint booth to like work on it. I'd work on it all night long. And the next day he'd come open the class. I'd still be there, working on it and stuff. And when he seen the first paint job I did in there, and he seen it all come to life, because I was trying to explain like how I was going to have to shadow this area to make this flame pop off of this flame, it lost him. But when he seen it all come together, he kind of understood that I had a vision, I had potential to maybe do something with it. So he kind of, it's not that he gave me extra attention, he just took me more serious.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when he just took me more serious than a lot of the other kids in there.
He probably saw that you wanted to learn.
Exactly. I was unbelievably eager to learn. I was there for one reason only. That was to learn how to paint cars right. You know what I mean? Would
you mind giving me like a walkthrough? So I actually just before this, I looked up, and you did a truck called Bad Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And you had talked before about how you have no idea what you're going to do before you go into a job.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if maybe you could break down that paint job kind of from the point of first contact with the person who hires you to do the commission through to the end. If you could just kind of give me just
This might take a bit.
that's
It's a
okay.
process. It's a process. Okay, so actually, I met the owner, the Daryl Starberg car show I was telling you about, where I do the pinstripers stuff.
Yep.
I met him there last year. So, I was there striping, and I had a bunch of stuff displayed, and he comes up to me, and I think I had a cooler, like an igloo cooler, painted all flakes and lowrider style and stuff, and he's seen it. And he wanted me to go look at his vehicle. So I was like, okay, cool, let's go check it out. So he had like this old Studebaker. It was kind of like, it's hard to explain, but it's like a Studebaker body, but he's kind of made it into a rat rod type thing. I mean, it's got a bunch of different stuff. It's actually a really, really cool vehicle. He had it wrapped flat black at the time. And he told me he wanted to do like crazy flake, lowrider graphics all over the whole thing. I'll be honest, at the time when I was talking to him, I'm like, okay, I'm never going to see this guy again. He's never going to do it, blah, 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 because it's the way most of the time it's the way it is, honestly. So we talked about it. I told him, just get it ready, once you get the body straight and get it ready, we'll do it. Well, sure enough, man, like 10 months later, because that show's in February, he hit me up in October. He calls me. He's like, hey, man, he's like, would you mind coming out to my shop and looking at this truck? He's like, I think I got it pretty straight. I'm almost got it ready for paint, but I would like for you to look at it, make sure we're on the same page and all this and that. So I was like, sure. So I go out there and check it out, and he did all the body work right. Everything was straight. And I was like, man, get it ready to spray. And once it's ready to spray, I'll come out and I priced them and everything. I was like, I'll come out and we'll do it.
So just to be clear, when you do something like this, you don't do the body work. You don't do prep.
I'm very, very picky. Okay, I worked in paint and body for almost 10 years doing paint and body work. Got unbelievably burnt out on it. I was always doing the custom stuff on the side. It got to the point to where the custom stuff was taken over, and I was making more money doing the custom stuff, and my regular day job was just getting in my way. It was just kind of a nuisance going to my day job. So once that hit, I told myself I'm going to give it 6 more months, and if that's still the case, I'm going to quit my job. We're just going to do custom stuff, and that's what happened. So now I'm so busy doing the fun stuff, man. I don't want to be scratching on body filler and shooting primer. I don't even own a primer gun anymore. So I'm very, very, very picky on what projects I work on. It's most of the time, because you know how it is being a body man. Someone's ready for paint is not our ready for paint.
Right.
If I get out there and it's not ready for paint, I'm going to tell you, man, I'm not painting it, because I'm going to put this badass paint job on it. And if it's wavy and got dents in it, they're going to automatically assume that I did it. So I won't touch something unless it's done absolutely right, or unless I personally know the person, I trust them. So yeah, I just work from the custom stuff on, paint on, pretty much. I don't mess with primer, none of that. I went out there and looked at this guy's body work. We loosely, I guide coded it, kind of loosely blocked it a little bit, and he was doing it right. It was straight. He had a paint and body guy helping him. I could tell it was straight. I could tell it was ready to go. So yeah, he got it ready for paint, and we went out on that one. That one, for example, he showed me some pictures of some paint jobs that he liked online. He sent me a couple pictures of some very, very, very basic lowrider type stuff, and he's like, "Man, you think you can make it look this cool?" And I was like, "Dude, I will blow that shit out of the water if you want me to." And he, so he was like, "Yeah, he I don't think he understood what he was getting." So anytime I'm spraying like that one is called Bad Apple, all candy paint, full lowrider stuff. So anytime I'm spraying green, I like to spray it gold first. So we sprayed it gold flaked, cleared, knocked the clear down flat. That's when the artwork starts. because that gold, when you spray that green candy over that gold, it just gives it a rich look, just a totally different look than if you sprayed over silver. It gives it a really rich, honestly, like a candy apple look. So that was the process, man. We just we got it gold flaked, sanded the clear down, started doing my tape outs, and just one little pattern at a time. He was there the whole time watching me. He was eager to learn. Yeah, just he kind of just fully trusted me in the whole thing. And when it was all said and done, he was like almost in tears, which that's better than payment to me. If a customer is like that happy, I'll take that over. I mean, obviously I got to get paid, but man, that's to me is more important than getting the money. The truck turned out absolutely phenomenal. It looks beautiful. He's going to debut it at that Daryl Starberg show here in a couple of weeks. It'll be the first time I'll see it all together. I haven't seen it since I left, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it like big time. Hopefully it'll get some attention, which I know it will, because that thing's wild. It's definitely sparkly. I'll just say that.
So just going back a little bit, so you lay down the gold,
mm-hmm.
and then will you tape out the entire truck in one shot? Will you kind of do it piece by piece and see?
No, some guys do it piece by piece. I prefer to. Okay, picture it's gold flake. It's got like 3 coats of clear on. You sand it down flat. So you got a dull gold looking vehicle. That's what you're looking at. So I will do all my 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch tape outs. I'll do the whole thing, the whole cab, tape everything, just to kind of get an idea of what direction I'm going to go in. And then once I get to my main design, my main layout fine lined out, that's when I start covering up certain areas. Say, I'm working on a raindrop effect on the cow, which we did. I'll tape off everything except that spot. And once that's taped off, if I want to add any more 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch tape lines, I'll do it then. I'll paint that, let it flash real good, and then I'll backmask it, and I'll just move on to the next one. It's just repeated the whole way through the vehicle.
That raindrop effect you just mentioned is actually on your Instagram. It's one of the coolest paint effects I've ever seen. Done by everybody.
It's so funny, man. Like everybody freaks out about the raindrop effect. That to me, that is the easiest thing ever. It takes no talent whatsoever to do that. You literally, I mean, I'm not even joking. You literally paint your base coat. Okay, like that area right there. I sprayed that area once it was taped off. I sprayed some silver right there. You literally take a squirt bottle, squirt water on it. Take your airbrush, over-reduce the black a little bit, step back, and fog it at like a 45-degree angle, just fog black, and then you leave and let the water evaporate, and it's done. That's it.
That's awesome.
The water evaporates, and the shadow behind the water drop stays, and you got a water drop look. That's it.
I'm not going to lie. That's probably like the least... That's like the most anticlimactic, like least exciting thing I've ever heard.
Because that guy was super. The owner, he's like, man, we got to have some water drops. We got to have some water drops. I'm like, okay. He's like, I want to see how you do it. I'm like, okay, don't get your hopes up. So we did it, and he's like, that's it. And I was like, that's it, man. And he's like, well, hell, he's like, I was just overthinking that. He's like, that's nothing. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, that's nothing. And then everybody that comes in and look at that truck, I'm super proud of some certain areas, most people don't even notice. They'll go to their water drops every time. And it's just like, yeah, whatever. It's water drops. It's easy.
Man, even as a professional, I had literally no idea. I was overthinking it too. I'm trying to think like, what is he? I was like, how do you even tape something like that off? Like, when do you even put something like that on?
Yeah. And it's like, there's another effect. It's like called a latex effect. I don't know if you've ever seen it on certain cars. It'll have like a splatter look everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Say you, I like say you paint the panel black, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is my personal favorite effect, color-wise. All jet black, no effects, no pearls, no metallic, nothing, just black. Have your little panel taped off, and you take buffing compound, splatter it on there, crisscross it, however you want, however that compound lays on there, just splatter it. Then go mix up like I don't know, white pearl or a red pearl or any kind of pearl. Put like 2 coats of pearl on it. Let it flash. Take some soap and water on a rag. Wipe the latex off. And you got a splattered look. That easy. It's super easy. That's all custom painting is. Bunch of little tricks, man. That's what's fun about it.
That's definitely something that's really cool about it. One thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is how much money material costs.
Oh, people are clueless, man.
Especially as far as like people who want to get kind of into it and maybe want to get started, they don't realize the amount of money you're going to have to spend to get
Now,
high
if
quality materials.
you're a paint and body guy, obviously, you you can completely relate. People don't understand why you can't just paint their vehicle for $2,000.
Oh.
They don't understand it. You're damn near getting 2,000 in materials if you're doing it right. So add that, then add the custom stuff on top of that. They just don't understand it. And me personally, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't charge enough. I enjoy doing it. My bills are paid. I'm not greedy. I just enjoy doing it. So I don't charge enough. I could charge more if I wanted to. But people just don't understand just the materials, man. Just clear coat. Just the clear coat. They don't understand it.
Today we spent $400 on a gallon of green single stage
I believe it. I definitely believe it.
$400 just on
we
one
painted.
gallon. That's not reduced. That's not hardened.
No, I get it, man. We painted a bike. Me and a buddy. I go to a shop over in Arkansas a lot. He has a paint and body shop over there, and we're pretty good friends. He had a bike come in, one of those victory bikes, and had this orange pearl on it. And the owner was we were gonna do custom paint on it, but the owner was just adamant he had to have that orange pearl, had to have it. And we tried to convince him, like, man, we can make a color that's super similar to this. A pint of that orange pearl was $1,100.
Cool.
$1,100. He paid it. That's the crazy thing is he paid it. And it's like I could have just mixed up a concoction to some stuff and came damn close to matching it. He had to have that color. And don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful color. It wasn't no $1,100 worth of beautiful, but it was beautiful, you know.
Do you remember off the top of your head what color it was? What?
I don't. I could get it later and tell you.
You can mix it up for me.
It's just a factory victory color that they came out with, and they were the only ones that have it. It's kind of like Harley. You know how Harley Davidson is. You know, they have their own colors. They can charge whatever they want because their colors are super hard to mix and match. And it's one of those deals. I don't know. It was unbelievable. I mean, it's pretty, but it wasn't that pretty.
Not $1,100.
I'll be honest with you, man. Like, yeah.
All right. If someone wanted to get started today in custom paint and pinstriping, what tools would you suggest they pick up? Where would you suggest they start?
Okay. Pinstriping. Everybody's gonna be different. I mean, there's a ton of different, ways you can go. Different brushes, different paints. I personally use one shot for my pinstriping. I use one shot enamel. It's been around forever. I use one shot paints. It's just a pinstriping paint. It comes in half pint cans. My brush of choice, I use a Mac brush, but I use a signature series. It's a Mac. It's called a King 13. I use a 000. 000 is just the size of the brush. So you got 0, 00, 000, quads, all the way up. I personally like a 000 King 13. If you're starting out, you don't need that good of a brush because you're not going to be good, honestly. So you can just buy like any kind of Mac brush, pretty basic, just a sword striper. I reduce all my one shot with odorless mineral spirits. Other than that, man, that's really all you need for pinstriping. Now the painting side, I mean, you understand this. Everybody's got their preference. Some guys are Sada guys. Some guys are Iwata guys. Some guys are DeVille Bliss guys. Me personally, I shoot Sada. Always have. I like it. Now my airbrush, my airbrush is an Iwata. The paints that I use Matrix paint. It's literally all I use. I'm very familiar with their systems, how their stuff mixes, what you can do with it, what it can't do. I'm a big believer on using the product from start to finish. So on my base, candies, clear coats, it's all Matrix throughout.
I've always found that's best practice.
Yeah, I mean, if you start mixing, I mean, that stuff's made to go together. You start mixing brands and stuff, that's when you're asking for trouble, in my opinion. Everybody's different.
Do you ever run into trouble mixing? Because one shot is non-hardened paint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever run into trouble mixing one shot with clears or anything like that?
I mean, at first, yes. Now, no. Everybody worries about clearing over one shot. I clear over one shot almost daily. There's a way to do it. You just pretty much they say you're supposed to use a hardener in the one shot. You can do that. I personally don't. I'll paint it on there and let it set a day. And then when I clear it, the first couple coats of clear, I just dust it on really light, let it flash off really, really good. Then I start wetting it up. If you wet it up right off the get go, it will wrinkle on you really bad. And I mean, I've had it happen to me before, but just like everything else, you kind of learn what it can do and what it can't do. And I literally never have any problems cleaning over one shot.
So it's just something you kind of have to learn. It's not something.
Yeah, that's something you gotta learn.
Like you said,
You'll mess a project up before you learn. You will, guaranteed. But once you learn, I mean, I could buy some urethane based striping paints, like some House of Color stuff. There's stuff out there like that. I personally just don't like the way that flows. I'm so used to using one shot; it has a certain flow to it. So I don't like the way the urethane stuff flows. So I just stick with what works best for me.
One thing I think for maybe not with pinstriping, but just for new people, what's nice about paints like one shot is you don't have to add hardener. You can just spray, even if you want to just use it in your spray gun, you can spray it and then you can just dump it right back in the can.
Yeah,
it's cheap enough that you can practice with. You can practice taping out. You can practice doing all your stuff, and you don't have to worry about ruining it. And
yeah. On the one shot, man, you can make a can of one shot last forever. I mean, not the main colors I go through obviously are like red, white, and black. But like if I have like
the traditional,
if I have like processed blue or sublime green, I can make that color last me 6-7 months. Honestly, the can will go bad before I'll use it all up most of the time. The can will just go bad. That's one thing I don't like about one shot. There's a new paint line coming out. It's called Alpha Enamel. I've used a little bit of their stuff. Their stuff's a little. I'm not gonna say it's better than one shot because it hasn't been out that long. It's pretty new, but I have used it. It flows exactly like one shot, but they sell it in bottles, and it doesn't skim over in the bottles. So therefore, you save a lot of paint because one shot's notorious for skimming over real bad.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And but I mean, I can get my one shot here local at my little local paint shop up here. I like supporting them. I'd rather give them my money than ordering some stuff online and giving it to a stranger. So that's kind of why I stick to the one shot. I'll never have any problems with it at all.
I never realized that except until a few months ago that one shot's actually owned by PPG. I didn't realize that. I thought
that's pretty recent. I'm pretty sure that they got. It's pretty recent. It happened a couple of years ago. I'm pretty sure 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. I believe. I could be wrong, but I think.
We use ALK in the shop sometimes, which is just the PPG. I can't remember what is the alkaloid.
I've never shot that. So I know. Isn't Matrix PPG? I mean, owned by PPG as well.
Are they? I don't know.
I think they are. I believe they are. Like I said, I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. I believe they are.
PPG probably owns most of the paint at this point.
Yeah.
If you're getting PPG checks, they can cut a big check.
But see, the main thing with all of this is like with the pinstriping or the custom paint, where they ignore, I guess, it's all about the prep. You got to prep something right. If I strap a car and don't prep it properly, it's not going to last. You know what I mean? But if I prep it right, it should last forever. If you take care of it, I give all my customers like when I'm done, I give them a little pamphlet, an aftercare pamphlet, kind of like when you go get a tattoo, you get an aftercare pamphlet. I do that to all my customers and tell them exactly what to do, and if they follow those directions, man, that's going to stay on there forever. But if it's not prepped right, same with like paint. If it's not prepped right, stuff's going to peel. You're going to have trouble in the future. And that's where a lot of, I guess my advice to anybody that wanting to get into it is pay attention to the details, everything before you even lay paint down. That's the main thing. That's important.
The prep is so important.
Adhesion is so important when it comes to the custom paint and the pinstriping. Absolutely important.
perfect. I always say perfect paint jobs come from perfect prep jobs.
Yes, and like pinstriping, like you could be the baddest pinstriper ever. You can put the coolest design on the hood of a car, but if it doesn't stay on there, then what's the point of it? It's like being a cool tattoo artist, but like after a couple months, the tattoo fades and looks like crap. Like, what's the
Right.
point of it? You know what I mean? Same with painting. I mean, it's no different.
Do you need to prep the paint before you stripe onto it?
Yeah, I mean, I prep it. I mean, if I'm using one shot, I'll do it all on top of the clear coat. But yeah, I mean, there's a prepping process. I mean, you got to get all the, you know, a lot of the cars are wax. You got to get all that wax off of it. You got to get it all the way down to just paint. Get all
So
that
you're
other,
not,
get all
you're
that
not
other stuff off
scratching it or anything.
No, absolutely not. No,
Okay.
no. The only time I would do that is if we're literally going to be like clear coating over something.
Gotcha.
You know what
Okay.
I mean?
And
That's
in those instances, you would probably try to not cut through the clear. You just try and get a little bit of a scratch on it with like.
Well, if we're like say I'm doing a stripe job and it's in the middle of a paint job or something, you know, you can just hit it with depending on the color, you can hit it with a Scotch Brite pad, hit it with 600 on DA if you want. It depends on how flat what we're doing.
Right.
But I mean, once you clear over it, man, that's locked in. You're good to go.
Yeah.
But I really get it all the time when I do like silver and gold leafing. You know, like you have silver leafing and got like the where they burnish it like little engine turns.
Yep.
I'll get it all the time where people are like, man, how are you getting your turns so crisp and so perfect? And I'll always tell them, like, you guys are focusing on the turning part. You need to be focusing on all the stuff prior to that. You got to lay your leaf down as flat as possible. If you get a bunch of wrinkles in it, that's going to affect how good it turns. You got to let your sizing set up for a certain time. If you get your silver leaf on too soon and go to spin it, it's going to burn through. If you wait too long, it's not going to adhere properly and it's going to rip. I mean, people don't pay attention to the stuff prior to that. You know what I mean?
After listening to you talk about all of this, I feel like people have literally no excuse to not learn anything by themselves.
I mean, dude, if you're passionate about something, I mean, like I'm the type, if I'm never going to be the best pinstriper and the best custom painter ever, I'm not. I'm real with myself. I'm not, but I want to be as good as I can possibly be. So like when I do that, I want to research as much as I can. Like when I do something, I want to attempt to be the best at it, no matter what it is, no matter if it's painting a car or I'm in the gym or I'm in, pinstriping something. I want to be the best. That's just the way I've always been. I've always been super competitive. So
no one trains to be second place.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to be the best. Like if I go to a car show and there's 7 stripers there, I want to be the best pinstriper there. So in order to do that, I need to do my research and I need to find techniques and find stuff that makes my stuff stand out, but yet holds up. And that's where a lot of people I feel like they're that's where I'm a little different. I feel like because I take pride in being in like especially my pinstriping. I take pride in being different. I go against the grain. Like a lot of guys pinstriping looks exactly the same. My goal with every job is if someone walks up and sees my work, they don't have to look for a signature. They automatically know I did it because they can tell by my style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent goal, and I think you're definitely achieving that.
Yeah, and that's where I found the most success is because I've created a style that people desire because it's different. It's just so much different. Like, and I don't know how it ever happened. I don't know why. I just got tired of like striping stuff and it looking just like the next stripers and next guys. So that's when I started using these weird colors together. And sometimes like it's like I would go the exact, like say I'm getting ready to pull a line. I would go the exact opposite direction as my mind was telling me to do. And when I did that, it just started opening up all these new designs and these weird designs. And I just rolled with it and people started paying attention to it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times just even not in your case, but even if you're not the best, being different is going to help you stand out.
Oh, you got to be.
I mean, pulling a line. At some point, pulling a line becomes pulling a line. The person who can make that line different is going to stand out a lot more than
exactly
who's just pulling that same line. I mean, a straight line is an amazing thing. You see some of these guys. You see a 10 or 12-foot line down the side of a truck. I mean, it's an amazing.
Yeah, that still amazes me. I'm not your guy on that. I can do it, but I'm not your guy. That still amazes me. But no, you got to be like a trendsetter. You don't want to be trendy, but you want to be a trendsetter. So like you want You want to be putting stuff out that like is different. Okay, the second you know you're doing something right is when people start copying you.
Right.
And that happens all the time with me. I get people copying me all the time. And like it's flattering. I don't take offense to it unless you're like blatantly copying me. But like it's like flattering. It's like, okay, I must be doing something right if 7 other guys are doing this thing I just, kind of came up with. They, you know what I mean? I must be doing something right. People are paying attention. So that's a good thing, I feel like. If someone starts copying you, or you know what I mean? Like if like people are going to pay attention, take notice.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's definitely always a good sign that you're doing something right, is when people follow you in your footsteps.
And I mean, it happens quite a bit. I mean, it really does, especially in the pinstriping. It really does. But luckily, I have a very, very loyal following and a very loyal like clientele base that it doesn't matter if I'm at a car show in Orange Beach, Alabama, people are still going to come to me regardless. They just very loyal customers. Very thankful for that.
Do you find that a lot of your customers are repeat customers? Or
oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say almost every one of my customers has been a repeat customer in some, whether it's buying a hat or a shirt, something maybe small. I mean, they're always definitely coming back for the most part. I mean, you'll run into someone randomly at a show that you've just met that day and you're never going to see them again, type of a thing. But it's a little bit different with what I do. I follow a certain scene. There's like a show circuit that I follow. Like I'm into the bag stuff, like lowriders, like bag trucks, lifted trucks, stuff like that. And there's like a scene, like a show circuit. I've built my name in that show circuit. So like if you go to any like truck show or anything and you mention my name, chances are someone's going to know who I am. But if I go to a random hot rod show up the street from my place here in Tulsa, they might not know who I am just because I'm not in the hot rod scene. I'm in the truck scene. So
Gooch, what the hell is that?
Exactly, yeah. So like I have a very, very loyal following in that scene. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people go to the same shows as I do. I kind of follow, the scene, and it's kind of like a big family almost in a way. And I just have to be the pinstriper in the family. And there's other guys that stripe at the same shows, and they got their following too. But for the most part, my customers have been loyal, and I appreciate that.
So I guess that's pretty much all the questions I had for you today.
Cool. This is fun, man.
I really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can maybe do this again sometime.
Absolutely. I'm glad you had me.
I hope you have a wonderful night, man. Thank you so much for listening today, everybody, and thanks to Gooch for coming on. If you liked Gooch and you want to learn more about him, you can go give him a follow on Instagram. His handle's at Gooch, GOOCH _customs, CUSTOMS. And I think you'd really appreciate it. Thank you again for listening, everybody. And this is A1 Autobody signing off.